Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another special edition of the Ram and Robbie live stream. Tonight, I have another special presentation prepared for everybody. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look back at every single snow game that's been played in Cleveland Browns Stadium since 1999. That's right. After last Thursday's magnificent, glorious upset win over the Steelers on Thursday night, in a blizzard, in blizzardy conditions. There's been a lot of debate and conversation among fans about whether or not the Browns should build a dome, because a lot of people have been saying if they do, then we won't get to witness these magical snow games anymore, or we won't have the competitive advantage, over warm weather teams like the Dolphins or something. And anyway, all of that just got me thinking, how many snow games have there actually been? How many snow games have the Browns actually played in since 1999, in Cleveland at least? And the answer might surprise you. The answer is not that many at all, actually. When you consider the stadium sits right on Lake Erie, right on the shores of Lake Erie, right in the warpath of all that lake effect snow, there really haven't been that many true snow games. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at tonight. But before we get started, I have a few things I'd like to plug. First, I am now on Instagram. The Ram and Robbie YouTube channel is now on Instagram. I created the account about a month or two ago. This is the first time I'm plugging it publicly, so right now it doesn't have a very big following. It's just like friends and family that follow it. But if you're a fan of my content, go follow me on Instagram. Right now, I'm just kind of uploading like post-game reaction videos, like selfie videos. And if there's like a breaking news story during the week, I might make a video about that. But the goal is if I get a big enough following on there, I would, start posting personal pictures or something. But anyway, so go follow me on Instagram, Ramen_Robbie. And the next thing I want to plug or bring to your attention at least is these kind of new presentations I'm doing, these kind of live stream special editions, as I call them. Well, the one you're watching right now is actually the second. I did another one right after the Browns season opener. On September 12th, 2024, I did a 20-year anniversary special. It was celebrating the 20-year anniversary of me becoming a Browns fan. And we went back and looked back 20 years at the 2004 Browns, did an in-depth review of that season. Then we also just talked about kind of everything that's happened the last 20 years. Not everything, but, like my favorite moment, my favorite game, favorite player, blah, blah, blah. I know that sounds kind of egotistical, but if you're like a Browns junkie, I think you'd actually find that to be an interesting stream. So go check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, those are the two things I wanted to plug. Now, without further ado, let's get into the presentation. So before we jump into the said snow games, I think we should set some guidelines first, or ground rules, just to make sure we're all on the same page. What constitutes a snow game? For this video, what constitutes a snow game? Well, to me, it's pretty obvious. The first bullet point here, there must be significant accumulation on the ground. Like the field must be covered for the most part. It's fine if you see some grass, but the field's got to be like covered for the most part. Because there have been plenty of games with snow flurries. I can think of countless games where I've been to these games. Off the top of my head, the 2011 season finale against the Steelers. I remember I have a picture on my Facebook page actually of like it looked like significant snowfall, but nothing ever accumulated on the ground. Another example is if you remember 2 years ago, the Browns played the Ravens on Saturday night. Deshaun Watson started, actually. Browns won 13-3. And I remember at points in that game there were significant snow showers, but it didn't accumulate on the ground. So those games do not count. There must be significant accumulation on the ground for it to count as a true snow game. And then obviously it must be played in Cleveland. Road games do not count. For this video, we're just focused on games in Cleveland Browns Stadium, or Huntington Bank, whatever it's called now. But anyway, with all that said, let's jump into the presentation now. Let's jump into the presentation. Our first or I guess the first snow game that was played in Cleveland Browns Stadium since 1999 was, drumroll please, Titans at Browns, Week 16, 2000. That's right, in Week 16 of the 2000 season, the Tennessee Titans came to town and unfortunately smacked the Browns around and shut them out 24-0. Just to give you an idea of, oh, and by the way, in case you're worried, there will be video highlights throughout this presentation. This is not just going to be me talking with pictures. There will be video highlights. But anyway, to give you an idea of where these two franchises were at this point, the Tennessee Titans came in, and after this win, they were 12-3. So they were a juggernaut in the AFC. This is actually the old AFC Central days. This predates the AFC North. Browns and Titans were in the same division at this point. But anyway, the Titans, this is when they had Jeff Fisher and Steve McNair and Eddie George. They were making like I said, they were a juggernaut in the AFC. They were making a serious push for the playoffs. The Browns, on the other hand, were the complete opposite. They were 3-13 after this loss. They were having an abysmal season. To be fair to them, they did lose Tim Couch early on in the year. Tim Couch broke his thumb in practice, I believe, and was out for the year. So the Browns were just trotting out garbage at quarterback, like Spurgeon Wynn and Doug Peterson. I mean, they never had a chance. And it's also worth pointing out that this is the Browns' second year back in the league. So they were still an expansion team at this point. So even though they were a bad team, I think Browns fans were just happy that the Browns were back. You know, people were just happy that they had a football team to watch at this point. So I don't think anybody really cared. But anyway, like I said, the Titans came to Cleveland, defeated the Browns in the penultimate game of the 2000 season. Eddie George, Buckeye legend, ran wild for the Titans. He had 34 carries, 176 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's obviously pictured here the bottom right. But anyway, let's get into some video highlights now from this game. Now, this is going to be a little tricky. The first clip I'm just going to play 15 seconds of. Just 15 seconds, and you'll see why, and then we'll play the second clip after.
Welcome back to NFL Prime Time. The Tennessee Titans in the snow in Cleveland. 21 degrees, wind chill much less. Hey, that's a great moment. Bruce Matthews and brother Clay, 279 games he passed.
All right, now we're going to watch the other one. And again, you'll see what I'm doing in a second.
His brother on the all-time.
These are the same videos, but the other one had a longer intro, and this one is a higher quality video, so we're going to watch this.
A hit list, if you will, 5th all-time. That's Eddie George had a bad toe all week, but he scores a touchdown by a toe. It's 10-0 Titans over the Browns. Tarek Zeller returns it to the 40. Look at the arrow, though, Tom. Not good.
Well, Perry Phoenix actually underneath Raheem Abdul.
I'll be right back.
He's going to get up. You see him kicking right there. Now, he was going to be ejected from that, but you watch a class act here. Jeff Fisher gets there before the official. He says, you get off this football field. That's not the way we play football.
10-0 Titans. Eddie George, 2 toes. This is a tough 2-yard run in the snow. 17-0 Tennessee. Late second. George. And here's an actual, this is a good word on a day like this. Tommy, he plows for 16. You're looking at Corey Fuller. 16 yards for Eddie George, who had 115 on 25 carries in the first half. And they fixed his jersey. He said, I'm not leaving.
Well, he is the workhorse, and the 25 carries in the first half tells you that Jeff Fisher's not trying to fool anybody about his game plan as he goes towards the playoffs.
Well, he got hurt. He stayed down. No, he comes back, takes the toss. He is just on perfect weather conditions, and maybe even more important, in tough conditions. 3 touchdowns again for Eddie George against the Browns. That's 6 in the 2 games. The Titans win in a shutout.
All right, so go over the box score here. Doug Peterson playing quarterback for the Browns, 13 of 30 for 75 yards. I mean, I rest my case. But yeah, like I pointed out earlier, Eddie George ran wild. Titans shut out the Browns. I'm not sure why. I am an expert. I don't mind tooting my own horn. I am an expert about expansion Browns knowledge and trivia. I don't know why the Browns have already finished playing their games by week 16. That would imply they had a bye in week 17. I don't know why that is. Granted, I didn't start watching till '04, so 99 to '03 is a little fuzzy in some areas, but I don't know why that is. But
24 nothing, 34 carries for 176 yards. Cleveland finishes a very disappointing season at 3-13. Don't know if Chris Palmer and staff will be back because Cleveland's season is over, but Tennessee is one win.
And as we know, Chris Palmer was not brought back. The Browns hired Butch Davis the next year. So one thing I wanted to point out, doesn't Eddie George, when he runs, doesn't he look a lot like Derrick Henry? Like, doesn't he look just like Derrick Henry? I don't know. But anyway, look at the, just to talk about the accumulation on the ground. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I mean, look, the field has to look like that, right? And this game was clearly a snow game in every sense of the word. So anyway, we'll wrap that up. But that was technically the first snow game since 1999, played in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Titans unfortunately smacked the Browns around, but there you go. Moving on now to the next snow game played in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Any guesses? Any guesses? Well, it is Chargers at Browns, Week 15, 2004. That's right. In Week 15 of the 2004 season, the then San Diego Chargers came to Cleveland and, unfortunately, just like the Titans, smacked the Browns around and shut them out, 21-0. And the Browns are shut out so far in these two snow games. And it's really inexcusable because the Chargers were from San Diego. I mean, they're a warm weather team, so really a bad look for the Browns. But again, just to give you an idea of where both franchises were at this point, it's very similar to the last game, unfortunately. The Chargers came into town. They were 11-3 after this game. Drew Brees was their starting quarterback at this point. And this was kind of Drew Brees' like coming out party this year. I believe he won Comeback Player of the Year this year. And the Chargers were a serious threat in the AFC. The Browns, on the other hand, were in complete shambles. They were 3-11 after this game. In fact, they had just lost their eighth game in a row. Their head coach, Butch Davis, resigned a few weeks earlier. Browns were on their third string quarterback at this point. Luke McCown, the rookie out of Louisiana Tech, was playing, and he was not ready for the pro. He was not ready to play at the pro level, at least yet. And it was not a pretty game. Drew Brees, Chargers quarterback, completed just 4 passes the entire game. Just 4 passes. And LaDainian Tomlinson, pictured right here, was really kind of in the prime of his career at this point. I mean, this is like prime LT, like 2004. So obviously, when you have a running back like that and you're playing in conditions like these, you're going to give the ball to LT a lot, and that's what the Chargers did. But going back to that, Drew Brees completed just 4 passes. Like, I get the conditions are bad, but 4 passes, that's crazy. And they still won easily. Marty Schottenheimer returned to Cleveland. He was the coach of the Chargers at this point, and this was his homecoming to Cleveland. So Marty Schottenheimer was the coach of the Browns in the late 80s, obviously, when they were making all those AFC title games. And he's still really a beloved figure in Cleveland to this day. But, you know, Marty obviously left on not the greatest terms. I believe he was fired, if I'm not mistaken. Because he had some disagreement with Art Modell, I think. So even though it wasn't the same organization at this point, the same Browns organization, it had to be sweet for Marty to come back and beat the Browns. And last thing I'll point out here, this is a little personal anecdote. It's about NFL Network. Most of you will not find this interesting, but I'm sharing it anyway. So I remember when this game was played, like the day after, I remember seeing highlights for it on TV on NFL Network, and I was kind of surprised because we didn't get NFL Network, you know? We just had like a basic cable package. And I think we must have had a trial for NFL Network at this point. I don't know if it was a couple days or a couple weeks, but I remember it being very temporary. And as a result, we got NFL Network, and it was cool. And this was like the first or second year that it was around, because they launched NFL Network in 03 or 04. I don't remember which year. But I remember watching the NFL Game Day highlight with Rich Eisen, that show, that highlight panel show, and this is one of the games. But anyway, just had to interject with a personal anecdote. So we're going to watch highlights from this game now. I apologize in advance for the poor video quality. We will come back around later on and come back to this game and watch a much higher quality version. The reason we don't watch it now is because it's a longer video, so it doesn't really fit the flow of this presentation right now. So we're going to come back to it, circle back. But yeah, here we go.
Having the integrity to play at this time of year, the Chiefs showed that today.
And they had 6 sacks. There were 10 penalties against Denver. Meanwhile, the San Diego Chargers. Okay, it's snowing in Cleveland. They expected up to a foot. And so how could San Diego, withstand this? Those guys are certainly fortified. And in the first quarter, Sherrod Coach roughs the young punter Mike Cyphers, and in the scoreless game, Coach undercuts Cyphers, although we should change his name in this note, not Coach, to Parka, Ski Parka. Winter Coach. Well, that was bad. First down, you have this. Oh, bad weather? How about LaDainian Tomlinson? Right up the gut for a 20-yard gain. And then Tomlinson is going to charge toward the record books with 11 straight games with a touchdown. The record is 13. John Riggins, George Rogers with 2 games to go. He can tie the record. Speaking of records, Drew Brees, he played at Purdue. He knows cold. Antonio Gates, wide open. 72 yards. This tight end.
Antonio Gates, the Kent State product.
Has caught his 12th touchdown of the year, tying a mark held for tight end Jackie Smith, Todd Christensen, Wesley Walls, and our own Mike Ditka. Wide open.
Well, you just look at Antonio Gates. He knows how to get open cold. And these guys got a lot smarter as the game went on.
Now, Terry Robisky says, well, let's try it. The interim coach of the Browns. And Hanik Milligan bobbles, recovers, Chargers ball. Robisky won. You got to try something.
That's right.
Meanwhile, third and goal, guess who's getting it? LT, LaDainian Tomlinson. Instead of a ski hat, you got the Browns fans. They love their football. They're out there in this weather. And the San Diego Chargers of Marty Schottenheimer have won the AFC West. The Chargers have won 8 in a row. They're 11-3. A team that won only 4 games last year, had the first-round draft pick.
So the Chargers took care of business on this day. It's funny, Drew Brees, 4 of 6, 85 yards. Most of those yards came on that 72-yard completion to Antonio Gates. That's crazy. Antonio Gates, 1 catch, 72 yards, a touchdown. So if you really take that away, Drew Brees had 13 yards passing. It really was the LT show. 26 carries, $111, 2 touchdowns. Chargers and Browns just complete opposites. One team is 11-3, headed for the playoffs. The other team's 3-11, just in complete shambles. But anyway, that gives you an idea of that game. Back to the presentation here. So that was the second snow game since 1999 played in Cleveland Brown Stadium. The next snow game in Cleveland Brown Stadium since 99. Bills at Browns, week 15, 2007. This one really needs no introduction. I mean, this is really one of the most famous games in Cleveland Browns history, not just in expansion history, really in Browns history. I mean, this is one of the few moments, like when you think of the Browns since 99, it's usually just dark moments, right? But this is like a game or a memory that stacks up to like the old Browns because it was just so magical because of the snow. But anyway, in week 15 of the 2007 NFL season, the Buffalo Bills came to Cleveland, and it was a pivotal game as far as the AFC playoffs were concerned. The Bills came in at 7-6. The Browns were 8-5. So both teams were fighting for the last wild card spot in the AFC. And the Browns would defeat the Bills on this day 8-0. Now, as you can see from this box score here, they did not get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. They actually got 2 field goals and a safety. So that is how they reached 8 points. this is an obscure Northeast Ohio high school football reference, but I remember there was a Jefferson Lakeside game that was 8-0 way back in the day. Anyway, this game would be the Browns' last shutout until 2023, if you can believe that. If you remember, the shutout last year was against the Cardinals. The Browns shut out the Cardinals 27-0. Rookie Clayton Tune was the Cardinals quarterback. Cardinals were held to their lowest yard total since 1955. The Browns had a dominant defense last year, at least at home. But anyway, getting sidetracked there. Browns defeat the Bills 8-0. Jamal Lewis ran wild for the Browns, 163 yards rushing. He was in vintage form. He was really catching steam as the season went on. Despite Jamal Lewis's stellar performance, that's not what most people remember from that game. Despite this amazing picture here, this great picture, most people don't think about Jamal Lewis's performance. Most people remember Phil Dawson, Browns kicker Phil Dawson, making 2 incredible field goals in blizzardy conditions from 49 yards and 35 yards, respectively. And really, I'm sorry, it was by the grace of God. Especially the 49-yarder. As much of an expert as Phil Dawson was about Cleveland weather and everything, it's just luck. You can't control where the wind's going to go. And the wind, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, really just guided that ball in and right off the extension post, whatever it's called. But 2 incredible field goals. Last but not least, your personal anecdote about this game. I remember, so the snowstorm rolled in on a Saturday night, and it continued Sunday morning into the afternoon, but it stopped by then. So there was enough time to clear the roads and everything. So I was pissed that we didn't have a snow day the next day. It sucked that we had to go to school. It's just a little personal memory from that game. Doesn't really matter. It was leading into Christmas break anyway, but that's a little personal anecdote. Anyway, we're going to watch some highlights here. This is Chris Berman doing the highlights. Can't ask for anything better.
5-0. Pittsburgh Steelers. And you think the weather was bad in Pittsburgh? Let's drive about 3 hours down the road to Cleveland. I think that's Romeo Cornell and that stick you're on. Can't be sure. In the Browns-Bills game, who would have guessed this game in Week 15 was big? You know what? You get some breaks in the snow off the chest of Braylon Edwards as Derek Anderson's pass to Joe Jurevich. Does he always play on teams that are good?
Yeah. Is he making them good, or are they?
No, he's a big part. Yeah. How about that field goal by Phil Dawson? You talk about that with a draw on it. 3-0 Browns. Then Trent Edwards. Not a lot of weather like this at Stanford. Rookie quarterback 5-1 for the Bills. Sean Jones with a big hit on Josh Reed. Cleveland, great job on field. Oh, over the head of Brian Moorman, and then he does the right thing. He's kick it out of there. So a 2-run homer, Jim Thome. Cleveland now up 5-0. Now, Anderson, the numbers didn't look good at all, but at times they made some tough plays, huh?
Great grab.
Anderson to Braylon Edwards, he caught 4. Now, you think you saw one field goal by Phil Dawson? How about this from 48 yards? What? Does he have a patent on hitting that back part of the bar or what? 8-0.
That's, of course, a reference to Phil Dawson's crazy field goal against the Ravens from earlier in the 2007 season. Look it up if you're not already familiar. I don't know how you couldn't be familiar with that.
Nothing. Cleveland. 3-run shot for Sandy Alomar Jr. Now, in a game like this, how about the big fella, Jamal Lewis?
They have an award called Comeback Player of the Year. Be hard-pressed not to give it to this guy.
Watch this, Tom. He had 33 for 163. And once he gets going, you can't...
By the way, Jamal Lewis unfortunately did not win Comeback Player of the Year. Somebody just pointed this out the other day. I believe he came in 5th. And to my shock, I would have assumed Randy Moss won Comeback Player of the Year. But he came in 2nd. This is the year Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns. And he was coming off of that terrible run in Oakland. So it's shocking he didn't win Comeback Player of the Year. I think Greg Ellis did, if I'm getting that name right.
You need help to make a stop on him, especially with field like this, right? And so short, they're forced to punt under 2 minutes to go. Down 8-0, it's still a score. And now the Bills are moving. Edwards to Josh Reed. Boy, the Bills. You know, this is the way their season is going. You count them out? Not the case. Edwards, Lee Evans through the hands. But would they try it again on 4th and 10? Trent Edwards. Yeah, there's a first down.
So the Bills are really driving at this point, and it was really crucial that Phil Dawson made those 2 incredible field goals because that gave the Browns a touchdown and a 2-point conversion cushion. So there was no way that the Bills could have came away with a win. The best they could do is tie the game. So those field goals were crucial.
Down at the Cleveland 15. Now they picked up 5 more. 3rd and 5 for the Bills from the 10. Edwards. Roscoe Parrish. Incomplete. Sets up one last shot. 5 for a first down. 10 for the touchdown. And they're going to go. Oh, it's a screen. There's a couple of block missed. Brown snuff it. Jackson stopped. He's back to a 4th cousin. He was 3rd from yours, Tom. And the Browns win it on a day fit for the abominable snowman by the count of 8-0. Romeo Crennel's Cleveland Browns are 9-5 in 40-mile-an-hour winds. They shut out the Buffalo Bills, whose valiant attempt at the playoffs apparently done now. We'll see at 7-7. The big fella ran.
Well, I missed that red background on SportsCenter. Anyway, like I said, the win gave improved the Browns' record to 9-5, and it's such a shame because at this point the playoffs seemed like a certainty. But as you see down here, they had to go to Cincinnati the next week, who were just 5-9. But the Bengals upset the Browns in a windstorm. It was really windy that day, and played spoiler. And the Browns did not end up making the playoffs in 2007, but that's a story for another day. Jamal Lewis, 33 rushes, 163 yards. Derek Anderson, 9 of 24, 137. No touchdowns, but no picks, and he made some clutch throws. Different points in the game. But, yeah. So that's highlights from that game. Moving on now. The next snow game in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Does anybody have any guesses? It's going to surprise you. It's really going to surprise you because I'll just leave it at that. Steelers at Browns, Week 12, 2024. So just last Thursday. That's right. It took 17 years for us to have another snow game in Cleveland Browns Stadium, if you can believe that. I mean, it seems just inexplicable because, I mean, if you live in Northeast Ohio, I mean, we get plenty of snow, plenty of lake effect snow. And like I said earlier, the stadium sits right on the shores of Lake Erie. It really is inexplicable, especially when you consider, you know, the other 3 took place all in 7 years. You know, in 2000, 2004, and 2007, that was 3 snow games in a span of 7 years. So it really is shocking that it took 17 years for there to be another Snow Bowl, you know? But I shouldn't have to spend a ton of time talking about this game because it just happened, obviously. But for the sake of the presentation, I will. Steelers came to town, and the Browns ended up knocking them off 24-19. Yeah, I mean, the Browns stunned the Steelers, like the bullet point says. It was an upset in every sense. Jameis Winston for the Browns, quarterback for the Browns, put on an inspiring performance on and off the field. Off the field was all of his pregame and postgame interviews. I mean, the guy is just so uplifting, very spiritual man. And really, at this point in time, we'll see how well this ages. He really is a fan favorite right now and has, I think, a serious chance to be brought back next year and be a bridge quarterback potentially, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, this loss dropped the Steelers to 1-5-1 in their last 7 trips to Cleveland. Can you believe that? Steelers, you know, we talk about Pittsburgh being a house of horrors for the Browns. Cleveland's kind of becoming a house of horrors for the Steelers. 1-5-1. And the one win they do have was 15-10. It was Ben's last year, if you remember, on Halloween. They were lucky to win that game, too. I mean, that was OBJ's last game with the Browns, actually. But no, that was the game Jarvis Landry had like 2 crucial drops, and he had a fumble late in the game. He lost us that game. So I mean, they really could be 0-6-1 right now in Cleveland the last 7 years. And this is a segue, and I can't help myself. I have to talk about this topic. The Browns-Steelers rivalry, or lack thereof, it died. If we're being objective, it died, right? It's no longer what it used to be. It kind of is on Cleveland's end. Like, we still hate the Steelers. It's not that way in Pittsburgh anymore. The Ravens are clearly their arch nemesis. But I will say, for years, when I asked people, when I would say, what's it going to take for the rivalry to come back? People would always say, well, the Browns just have to start winning. The Browns just have to start winning, and then the rivalry will come back. You know who told me that, actually? Jim Donovan. I called into the Browns Red Zone. I have it on tape, actually. I might post that someday. And Jim Donovan said, oh, they just have to win. And, the Browns have been winning. They're 1-5. The Steelers are, well, flip that around. The Browns are 5-1-1 against the Steelers their last 7 trips. The last 7 times the Steelers have came here. So we're doing our part. We split with the Steelers like just about every year the past like 6 years, except for one time. So I don't know what it's going to take, because we now beat the Steelers like regularly, but it still doesn't feel like a rivalry. So I don't know what it's going to take. I think unfortunately, until further notice, we're just always going to be in the shadow of Ravens Steelers, because the Ravens are the original Cleveland Browns. So that's why that's such a great rivalry. But anyway, we're going to watch some highlights from it. Again, we really shouldn't have to, because the game just happened, but for the sake of the presentation. I'll skip to when the snow starts.
Harris, no. Stopped in the backfield that time. High snap. Recovers. Gets tackled at the 17-yard line.
They're prepared for the snow, it looks like.
Helping us out. Thank God. From the 8-yard line, Jerome Ford works his way up to the 35-yard line. Yeah, that's a good point. Very significant as they go with the win. Winston downfield, reaching up. Can he make the catch? Njoku. No, that is Blake Whitehurst. Sorry about that. 180. What's up? From the 23, open, making the catch to the 5-yard line. Jordan Akins. Ford in motion. Winston under pressure, gonna run it into the end zone. Whoa. Brings Judy inside. Throws, and this time it's held on to by Njoku for the 2-point conversion. Pressured, on the run, on the move, throws, leaping grab at the 40-yard line, Jerry Jeudy. Watt, double him again, chip him again, passes a little low, and caught. Jerry Jeudy was right there.
Such a star in the making, Jerry Jeudy.
In the pocket. Has a man to the 13-yard line. Jerry Jeudy having some night. 6 catches, 87 yards for him. Winston from the gun. Hands it off. To the end zone goes.
Poetic justice, Nick Chubb scoring the game-winning touchdown against the dirty-ass Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just going to say it. They're a very dirty franchise. It's on record that Mike Tomlin paid James Harrison for knocking out Massaquoi and Cribbs that one game. Of course, TJ Watt. Remember that game where TJ Watt was rustling Joe Burrow for and I'm not trying to defend the Bengals, but he was rustling Joe Burrow for no reason. And there's so many examples I could bring up. The Steelers are a very dirty franchise. I'm sorry. Minka Fitzpatrick was I don't know if I can accuse him of like. What I will say is when he took out Chubb last year, I think when he went for that hit, he couldn't have known what was going to happen, obviously, but I think he was like, hey, I'm doing something kind of risky right now, and what happens, happens. I think that's kind of his mindset, and that's just pretty shitty because Nick Chubb very well might never be the same player. So
Chubb!
Wouldn't be surprised if they try and take out Myles Garrett next because he's another thorn in their side.
Touchdown, Browns!
Wouldn't put it past Mike Tomlin at all.
Rush 3, drop 8. Now a late rush thrown up for grabs in the end zone. How does this one end? Incomplete.
All right, so Browns amazing upset win over the Steelers on Thursday night. Doesn't get any better than that. And it was in the snow. Magical snow game. What else can you say? Are we this is something I want to point out. Are we sure these two pictures are from the same game? Like you look at the picture on the left and you look at the picture on the right. I mean, they look like they're being played on different continents. It's insane. And you know, it's funny when I look at this picture, that looks more like the Thursday night game 2 years ago against the Steelers when Jacoby Brissett was starting. Like that, it kind of looks like that game if you don't know any better. So it's really amazing that these pictures are from the same game. Anyway, going back a couple slides here, I do want to talk about the Browns being 3-8. You know, I see people on Browns Twitter and even on the radio stations talking about the Browns still having a chance at the playoffs. I just want to get this on the record here. Look, I have degraded myself many times with fake imaginary playoff scenarios. Like, oh, if we win 7 of the next 8, we can make the playoffs. I've done that many times. It ain't happening this year. The Browns are not making the playoffs. And I will gladly eat my words if they turn into the 2022 Lions and finish 9-8. Gladly eat my words, but it ain't going to happen. So let's just not do that. Let's just try and enjoy what's left of the year and look forward to next year, you know, try and build off of this. But I just had to get that on the record because can we stop dragging ourselves down to this level? Can we stop stooping this low to where like, oh, we're in the playoff picture now? Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. So that does it for the snow games. That's every snow game since 1999. I do want to get to the bonus footage that I promised earlier of the Chargers game in 2004. We're going to watch a little bit of that. It's much better quality than the NFL primetime clip we played earlier.
At BetMGM, everyone...
We're not going to watch the whole video, don't worry.
The Browns, 15 degrees, -10 with the wind, and we're expecting 15 inches. So what better thing to do on a Sunday afternoon? Play football in Cleveland. Marty Schottenheimer knows about the weather. We're underway. Alston from the 9. And Alston gets to the 30-yard line at 21, leading the way for the Browns offensive line. First down and 10, and they give it to William Green, who runs straight ahead. Green lines up as the single setback. He runs it once again with a huge opening. And expect to see, BJ, a steady diet of William Green.
And Gus,
Dennis Northcutt in motion. And they fire. This is Bryant with the reception. And Bryant keeps his feet moving. Third down and 6 at the 49. Over the middle, Northcutt with the catch. He's close to Cleveland, faced with a 4th down and 1 after this. And the Browns, who are going for it, they run the reverse. Northcutt lowers his shoulder, and I believe he has it.
The Chargers, Gus, clinch a playoff spot today. Not with a win necessarily, but with a Denver loss. Clearly because of the division record they split during the season.
This one is caught. The drive that started at the Cleveland 30. Here's Northcutt with some trickery, trying to get down the sideline, and he's gone. Rolling, nothing to lose, fires, picked off in the end zone.
Oh, wow.
That one picked off by Donnie Edwards. And this sent...
That was Luke McCown, who I talked about earlier when we were summarizing this game. Luke McCown, Browns rookie. I mean, that play right there just told you he was not ready for the professional level. I mean, look at how ridiculous this is. I don't even know who he's trying to throw to. Is it Terrell Smith? How does he not see that guy right there? Was he a victim of the elements? Did the wind take? I don't understand what happened there. But anyway.
At the 29, out of the offset eye, they hand it off to the up back, Lorenzo Neal, and he picks up the first down. Play action, Drew Brees setting up, looking downfield, he's got a receiver, and here's LaDainian Tomlinson, and he's bottom down at 10 at the 35. Brees looking, steps up in the pocket, Brees is sacked. Very familiar with each other as Tomlinson goes into the end zone for the score. Here's Cam Cameron, who game. Cleveland running the football, William Green. Deep play of the...
Skipping ahead here, it looks like the Browns put together a drive that was going to end in a missed field goal.
Drive that started at the Cleveland 10. McCown throws the slant and has missed 3 of his last 5 attempts. Take a look at his numbers this season. And it will be about a 39-yard attempt. Down, up, and whoa. He shanked it. Side handoff, and Lorenzo Neal picks up the first down. And for the fair catch, it has it. Also in Kansas City, and you mentioned it.
By the way, earlier we were talking about Marty Schottenheimer being the coach of the Browns. Head coach from 84 to 88. 4 playoff berths, 3 division titles.
You mentioned it, partner. Out of nowhere, the Chargers have emerged as a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and I think maybe might have been his best coaching job. We asked him about that.
Here's Drew Brees throwing down the field, wide open. Antonio Gates down the sideline, and he's gone. Antonio Gates, touchdown, San Diego. 72 yards, and the big tight end picked him up and put him down. And he can move.
Holy cow. You might want to cover the best tight end in the National Football League. There's an idea. Next week's going to, but the 4 seed's going to play the 5 seed. That's a chance.
Chapman running again.
Anyway, just some select clips from that game, better quality version. I don't know. That's probably enough. That's probably all we needed to see. Not a very memorable game. But moving on here. All right, so here's some honorable mentions. And I'm including this in case anybody tries to get cute with me and say, oh, well, this game I saw snow on the field, and this game. Here are 2 games that I can remember off the top of my head where there was some snow on the ground. But they were not snow games by any means. But we're going to point them out anyway.
In Cleveland, Jack Del Rio was not the only man with 3 names.
Who was the other?
In the house. The other, in the second quarter, is Pay the Man.
Pay the Man! That was a good setup, Rich.
Joshua Prince.
This game, you see snow on the field. Browns ended up winning, by the way, 23-17. And then the other one, the Saints game just 2 years ago on Christmas Eve. That's potentially still fresh in your mind. Deshaun Watson was starting for the Browns, and he actually led the Browns on a game-winning drive at the end, but Njoku dropped the touchdown. Let's actually watch that game-winning drive, or potential game-winning drive.
Third and 8. Watson over the middle. That time able to connect. It's Cooper inside the 45-yard line. Well, they lose about 23 seconds of game clock right there. 3rd and 13. Watson's pass up the seam. It is caught. What a snatch by Cooper. 1 timeout left now. 51 seconds. Now they've got a lead on that passing game. Watson over the middle. It's caught. And another big play. It's David Bell. 30 seconds, no timeouts. It's 3rd and 10. Watson over the middle, incomplete.
Njoku, that's all Njoku's fault. Well, by the way, what happened to this Deshaun Watson? He wasn't as bad in 2022 and 2023. Like, you remember last year, obviously the Tennessee game and then the Ravens game, even the Cardinals game, he wasn't that bad. What happened to that guy? He at least, like, yeah, he still wasn't Houston Deshaun Watson, but he at least looked like a competent quarterback. I don't know what we saw this year, but that was just like not anything resembling Deshaun Watson.
My goodness! Njoku couldn't squeeze it. Just a couple of weeks back, 4th and 10. It comes down to this for Cleveland. 23 seconds. Watson all day to throw. Now here they come, and they bury him.
What the hell? I made the mistake of clicking ahead on the video to watch an ad. But anyway, you see like there's snow on the field here. That's what I'm getting at. That's obviously not, this is not a snow game. So I'm just pointing these games out. And there might be other games like that I'm forgetting, but those games do not count. So moving along here. All right, that takes us to this. Should the Browns build a dome? This is what triggered this video, fans talking about this. So let's just discuss this a little bit. Should the Browns build a dome? Well, if they did, it would technically move the Browns out of Cleveland for a second time. Of course, they would still be in Northeast Ohio. They would be moving to Brook Park. So the move would take the Browns from Cleveland to Brook Park. Now this part here, I'm just going to come clean. I clearly copy and pasted from Google. This is not, I'm not plagiarizing. I'm citing it. It was actually from like an AI generated Google result or something. But proponents of the Browns building a dome say it would create economic opportunities. The Browns say the economic opportunities from a dome would be much greater than renovating the current stadium. They also claim it would improve the fan experience. A dome could provide a more pleasant viewing experience by protecting fans from bad weather. It could also amplify the cheers of the crowd. So far, I got to say, those two reasons are not very good. It would host more events. This is the first legit reason. The new stadium could host more than just football games, including concerts and esports. So obviously, the big thing would be hosting a Super Bowl. If the Browns built a dome, at some point they would be able to host a Super Bowl, and that would be huge. So that would be the main reason to build a dome. To getting to my personal thoughts, I have mixed feelings about it. I see both sides of the equation. I really do. But I don't really know which way I lean because, on the side of not building a dome, there's nostalgia there. Even though the Browns have had terrible memories for the most part since the stadium opened and the team's been lousy, it still is nostalgic. I've been to that stadium plenty of times and I don't know. It seems like as of late, whenever I go, it's always in winter. It's always in December, like around the holidays. So I just have so many memories of going there and kind of bundling up and sitting out in the snow, or not the snow per se, but just the cold weather. I have plenty of memories of doing that. So there's that. There is the competitive advantage of playing in the snow. When a team like the Miami Dolphins come to town and it's a blizzard, that's a competitive advantage, right? Unfortunately, we saw two examples in this presentation where that didn't help the Browns. The Saints game and the Chargers game. Those were two warm weather teams, and they came in the snow and just schooled the Browns. But you know what I'm trying to say. And then obviously just the magic of snow games. Like, they're just fun to watch. The Steelers game on last Thursday was great. The Bills game in 2007. Those are just honestly two of the best wins since 99. I'm not going to get into the specifics of where they rank, but you throw them into the pile of the best games since 99. But those are my thoughts on it. And then on the flip side of that, I also see the benefits of building a dome. The Browns hosting a Super Bowl, or Cleveland hosting a Super Bowl, I should say, would be awesome. Among other events too. So I truly get both sides of it. I don't know what's going to happen. I think they're clearly going to probably build a dome. I don't think any of our opinions really matter. So Last thing I want to say, what are your thoughts? You know, it's good to engage the audience here. What are your thoughts? Should the Browns build a dome? Are you for this or against it? Leave a comment below. And yeah. In the end, that takes us to the end of the presentation. This was a much shorter one than the last one I did, the one about the 20-year anniversary of me being a Browns fan. Hope you enjoyed this. Like I said at the top, I hope to be doing this more, you know, with different topics, because it does take, it is a lot quicker to make videos in this format because I don't have to write a script. And it's just easier than like putting together highlight clips and everything and then narrating everything. So let me know what you guys think of this format. I don't know, maybe it sucks, maybe nobody likes it and I'll have to stop doing it, but I really enjoy it. It's a fun little quick way to get kind of a topic out there that I'm, because, you know, I have a list of video ideas, like several papers filled with ideas, and this was one of the ideas for years, is every snow game the Browns have played since '99. And you know, I decided to just do it via a slideshow presentation, you know, the live stream format. By the way, if you caught the original version of this, I live streamed this presentation on Wednesday night, but when I played it back, I noticed there were severe audio issues. So I took that down and I decided to just redo this presentation. What you're watching right now is me redoing this. So, you know, I kind of just said a lot of the same lines. So if you watch that, you're probably hearing me say the same lines over again. But anyway, let me know what you think of this format. And if it's popular, I mean, I'll start doing this more often. So, but with all that said, I'm going to wrap up the video. Let's go back to the beginning. With all that said, I'm going to wrap up the video. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. It would mean a lot. Follow me on Instagram, like I said earlier. I'm going to start plugging this more, Ramen_Robbie. And yeah, check out the other live stream if you haven't. It's under the live section. This video, I'm not sure if it's going to be a live stream or not, because I'm torn on whether or not I want to edit some stuff and add music, which would make it, if I did that, I'd have to make it a separate video upload. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like I said, hit like, hit subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Follow all the other socials. Until next time, I'm Ramen Robbie, and thanks for watching.